Chapter 5, Mishnah 7. The Mishnah returns to the subject of Tehum. As we learned in Chapter 4, a person's Tehum is measured from his place of residence when Shabbos begins, which is ordinarily his home. However, if one places an Eruv Tehum elsewhere, its location becomes his place of residence and his Tehum is measured from there. In order for a person's Tehum to be measured from his place of residence, whether his home or his Erev, he must be within 2,000 amos of it at the moment Shabbos begins. Our Mishnah begins with the case of someone who is within 2,000 amos of either his home or his Erev, but not both. We now turn to the words of the Mishnah. Someone who was out in a field to the east of his house as Shabbos began, and he told his son before Shabbos, "Make an Erev for me to the west of my house." Or he was out in a field to the west of his house, and he had told his son before Shabbos, "Make an Erev for me to the east of my house." The law is as follows. If there are 2,000 amos or less between him and his home and his house, but more than 2,000 amos between him and his Erev, then he is allowed to use the Tehum of his house, and he is not allowed to use the Tehum of his Erev. Although he wanted to make his Shabbos residence where his son put the Erev for him, he cannot use that place because he was not within 2,000 amos of it when Shabbos began. Since his Erev was ineffective, we assume that he wants his house, which is within 2,000 amos, to be his place of residence for Shabbos. He therefore receives the Tehum of his house. If, on the other hand, there are 2,000 amos or less between him and his Erev, and more than 2,000 amos between him and his house, then he is not allowed to use the Tehum of his house, but he is allowed to use the Tehum of his Erev because he is within 2,000 amos of it, and that is where he wishes to make his Shabbos residence. If a person's house is in a city, the entire city is considered his place of residence, and his Tehum is measured from the city's borders. If he makes an Eruv Tehum to travel farther, he must place it outside the city's borders for it to have any effect. The Mishnah illustrates this. If one places his Eruv in a structure that is in the extension of the city, that is, he places it in a building that is within 70 2/3 amos of a city, he has accomplished nothing. That is, his Erev does not have any effect, since the structure is included in the city's borders in any case. If, however, he placed it even 1 amma outside the city's border, that is, 1 amma beyond the last structure that is included in the city, then his Erev takes effect, with the result that whatever distance he gains in the direction of his Erev, he loses the opposite direction.